Jiraiya. A voice rang out in the Uzumaki couple's house. What have you done again? A woman of about 30 years old flew into her son's room. The door miraculously stayed in its place. Her green-blue eyes looked at her son sternly and seriously. Why is Kabuto-san complaining about your behavior again? No, but what about them? A 7-year-old boy with wheat-colored hair, his mother's eyes and 3 fox mustaches on his cheeks, looked at his mother with an offended look. Well, big deal, spied on the girls a couple of times. You mean a couple dozen times? The woman raised an eyebrow. She sounded very angry. Who told you at all that it's a good idea to look for friends like that? I read it in a book. The boy suddenly cheered up. Aika Aika, Children's Joys, by Uzumaki Nagato-san. Suigetsu's father and uncle left it on the table yesterday, and I decided to read it. The boy smiled cheerfully at his mother, reminding her of Rokudame Hokage, and his father, Naruto Uzumaki. Concurrently, her beloved husband and the main thorn now standing in the doorway, Uzumaki Temari. Give me, please, and I'll read. Temari smiled gently at her son. I really want to know what our dad and Uncle Suigetsu read there. Here. Jiraiya handed her the book. I heard from Dad that Nagato-san is a brilliant writer, the blonde man drawled in embarrassment. I wish I could get his autograph. I think we'll be able to get a couple of autographs from him soon. A woman with red hair and exactly the same color eyes wearing oval-rimmed glasses entered the room. Well, if that's what you want, of course, nephew, Karen-san. The boy was delighted. Of all his many aunts and uncles, Karen was the most gentle and kind. You finally arrived. The boy rushed to his aunt and was wrapped in a strong embrace. I'm glad to see you too, Ji-kun. Karen smiled warmly. And have you already figured out where we're going today? Let's go to Uncle Yugo's. The blonde asked. I haven't seen him for so long. He promised to sing me some new songs of his own composition. Yugo. Temari nodded her head, abruptly closing the book. Both of her eyes were twitching, and veins began to appear on her forehead. Have a nice rest, son. Don't be afraid of the noise in the residence, okay? A light wind had risen, and the woman was no longer in her son's room. What do you think, Aunt Karen? Jiraiya turned to the red-haired woman. In how many minutes will the Pope's residence fall apart? Work was in full swing at the residence. While Naruto and his army of shadow clones were sorting through thousands of papers, his unique advisors, Shikamaru Nara, Shizune Kato, Suigetsu Hozuki and Niji Hyuga, brought even more. Sometimes each of them thought, where did they get so much paper at all? Are you all working, Hokage-sama? Perhaps only his wife could enter Rakudama like this brazenly, and without knocking. Looking around, the woman saw that her eldest son was also here. Have you returned from your mission yet, Yashimaru? Hello, Mom. A boy of 12 years bowed slightly. It's wrong to go to the Hokage-sama without knocking. I'm his wife, Temari snorted, looking at her husband with a smile. So, skip the formalities when your mother meets you from a mission, she continued, slapping her son on the back of the head. How did it go? Are you developing the element of a magnet? Shikaku-san is a cruel but cool teacher. And catching a Class B nuke nin is a simple task for a ninja of my level. Yashimaru smiled at his mother. Temari was sometimes shocked by how much the boy looked like his father outwardly. Just one-on-one. It's just a pity, the character got from the grandfather of the race. The fact that you are already a Chunin is not a reason to fight only on high-ranking missions and prove your superiority. Didn't my father and I tell you what it leads to? I'm sorry, Mom. The copy bowed to Rokudame, then turned to his father. Can we have a training session today? I want to hone some skills. My wind element isn't good enough yet. I think at the 7th training ground at 1800 hours, Yasha, the head of the village, smiled. The man slowly got up from the chair, then walked over to his wife and son, hugged them. I think we need to have dinner tomorrow, get out somewhere with the whole family. Your advisors will swear at you for a very long time, father. The one-tailed disciple shook his head. It's time for me to go. Additional information about the mission is in the envelope. The clone will take the money, said Yashimaru, slipping out of the arms of his parents. And now I want to see my little brother. See you tonight, father, mother. Yashimaru bowed slightly to his parents and, scattering golden sand, flew through the window, towards the chakra of Jiraiya and Aunt Karen. Children grow up so fast, Temari breathed, wiping tears from the corners of her eyes and snuggling closer to her husband. His steely and strong-willed Sand Princess, in such moments of weakness, Naruto loved even crazier than usual. Wrapping one arm around his waist, he stroked his wife's soft hair with the other. You're right, dear. Soon, girls will run after Jiraiya in droves. Hokage laughed softly, but Temari tensed in his arms. Honey, is everything okay? By the way, about girls, my son. Temari lightly kissed Naruto on the lips, after which she asked slowly and in a gentle voice. How did it happen that you and Suigetsu brought a book with child pornography, which our son later read? However, the Hokage was not destined to finish, because in the next second the upper half of the residence was blown to pieces. You blew it, big brother. Jiraiya smiled at the young Jounin, watching the spectacle together with Yashimaru and Karen, from the head of the sixth. I told you that the residents will suffer. Well, there is also a plus in my loss, Yashimaru said humbly, handing his brother 100 ri. Seeing the questioning looks, he continued. It means that the most unpredictable shinobi and the Sand Princess have not changed yet. Gaara and Kankuro, who came up to them, only grinned at each other. It looks like everything is just beginning. Reikage-sama, in front of the table Godame fell on one knee. Darui. Yugito-sama again, that damn, growled the young Reikage Uzumaki Naruto. The door opened abruptly, admitting an angry Uzumaki Yugito. Naruto, what the hell? The right hand of the new Reikage prudently withdrew, leaving the rulers alone. Why am I not allowed outside the village? First, learn to knock Yugi-chan, Uzumaki said calmly. And secondly, I've already explained it to you. We have just recovered from the biggest war in history. There are a lot of renegades and deserters of all stripes scurrying around the world, nothing I couldn't handle, Jinchuriki Two-Tailed categorically declared. And I demand that you let me out of the village. You can't demand anything from me. Naruto released ki. Not so much to threaten his wife, but to calm the Umbu, who are ready to break down. In case you haven't forgotten, I'm a Kage, and you're a Hunin, obligated to obey me. I hope you still remember that. Blue eyes squinted at the girl, who looked away. I remember, Jinchuriki muttered, and jumped up again. But, no buts. If you need training, go to the training ground. You are not allowed to leave the village until everything settles down. To perform. Hi, Reikage-sama, Uzumaki replied and turned away. The door slammed and Darui came back in. Can you tell me the real reason, Reikage-sama? The bearer of the black lightning asked his boss, sitting down next to him. They were waiting for long hours of work with papers. Well, no way. My dear Yugito started this deception game herself, let her get out of it now. Darui just grunted. Naruto was right. The young Reikage himself was lost in thoughts of his wife. Since the war, he has grown up, grown his hair and matured. You do realize it's your own fault, don't you, kitten? Matatabi purred in Jinchuriki's subconscious. And it's not my fault, the former research institute growled in response. The blonde was still statuesque, tall. Except that the face is slightly haggard due to the stress of recent years. It's his fault. He found out about everything and arranged for me hyper-custody. Where is he, the funny kid who saved my life 4.5 years ago? Let me remind you that you beat it out of him yourself. Or have you already forgotten? Two-Tailed replied to her. Yugito remembered. She remembered how in a split second some bastard in a mask would have pierced her chest, but someone attacked him. She remembered how the blonde man fought with her side by side against the immortal duo, and how she sat by his bed in the hospital, hoping that he would survive. How she invited him to stay with her until his wounds were completely healed, and how he, blushing timidly, invited her on a date. A 30-year-old woman at that time. Which was right before the war itself, where he had to kill the best, although only Naruto himself thought so, friend, and he lost a close friend. When Raikage found out about their date, he made fun of them both, like an adult cat watching how little kittens comprehend the world. Beholding such thoughts in Jinchuriki's head, Biju just laughed, so you remember. Thanks to you, he matured and began to behave more seriously. So, now you will reap all the results of your efforts. Well, I want so much on the ass, Yugi whined out loud. She had already reached home and lay down on a soft, orange-blue sofa. Pregnant Kunoichi can't do tasks. Yugito twitched and glanced at the table where the current fifth Raikage was sitting. Don't worry, I left the clone with Darui. Why didn't you tell me that you know everything? Yugito crossed her arms over her chest. And why did I find out this not from you, but from your doctor and by chance? Uzumaki turned the arrows. And you're still going on some assignments. It was a surprise. Jinchuriki puffed out her cheeks, and pointed her finger at the calendar. He showed that today is the 9th of October, another day and Naruto will turn 20. But it's been 2 months. Naruto sighed, sitting down next to Yugito and hugging her shoulders. Your happy reaction would be worth it, the older Jinchuriki said categorically. And I want to go on assignments because I'm bored. If I didn't give daily concerts at the residence, you would drown in these papers. You can't argue with that. After the war, Naruto took the place of Ei killed by Madara, and from that moment on, he gave almost all his strength to restore his village. Yugito was left with crumbs of time that he cut out when Darui forcibly pushed him out of the office after a day of work. After thinking about it, Naruto mentally ordered the clone to create more copies, and hugged Yugito tighter. I'm all yours from now on, kitten. The blonde leaned on her husband and, closing her eyes, purred slightly, causing Biju and Naruto to chuckle. That would always be so. Come in, the blue-haired woman sighed, already knowing who had come. I don't want to eat, I'll deal with the documents myself, and no, I'm not worried. Sasori, only Sasori, who wanted to start his tirade, closed his mouth back, because there was nothing more to say. And so it went on for the 3rd time, as their leader went to the Council of 7 Kage. Then I apologize for disturbing you, Konan-sama, the former renegade Tsunagakure wisely bowed out. However, I can still assure you that Amikage-sama will be fine. You only worry me more. Shurikens flew at Sasori and he had to sneak away. And don't bother me anymore, Akasuna. Conan added, closing the door. Deidara approached the upset Sasori. I told you it would be like this, Dana, he remarked, creating his next clay figurine. When Naruto is away, she is always worried. Especially after pain. Don't finish it, Sasori growled warningly, and they both looked at the door of Amikage's office, where Conan, who was replacing Uzumaki, was sitting. Do you remember the rules? Ah, well, yes. The blonde shrugged his shoulders and together with the older comrade they went down to the kitchen of the residence. Silently. So it didn't work out, Hoshigaki smiled knowingly when he met them. Nothing can be done, although Naruto-sama will be unhappy. Well, I'm sorry, Akasuna's voice showed a rare irritation for him. However, we are doing everything we can. It's no one's fault that, after Nagato's death, Conan is shaking over the last Uzumaki like a mother hen. Naruto-sama saved us, you should show due respect. Sasori, Itachi, who had been silent before, looked at his colleague impenetrably. Losing Pain was a big blow for Conan, and for all of us, too. It is not surprising that Conan does not find a place for himself. There is no guarantee that Kage and, especially, our old snake from the sound will not cause trouble. He is accompanied by a zombie combo, said the former swordsman of the mist. I don't think there is anything that can stop them. It was these two who pulled Naruto-sama out of Tobi's clutches during the war, and not one of us. But the question remains open, Deidara reminded. We were asked to shield Conan from work in every possible way, during the absence of those who left for the council. Because on the basis of excitement, she tends to overdo it, and then faints. Well, what do you suggest? Put his hands on Sasori's hips, admit the failure of the operation, and get a well-deserved scolding. The bomber shrugged his shoulders. No need to get any scolding. The woman herself came to the kitchen. Sasori, please sort out the documents. There's not much left. Yes, Conan-sama. The puppet nodded politely, and left. Conan sat down in his place and Itachi put a cup of coffee in front of the boss. I'm sorry to cause you trouble. Conan bowed her head slightly. However, Itachi is right. After Nagato's death, it's hard for me to control myself. Conan-sama. Guys. Haydn flew into the room. There, the boss, him. What's the matter, Haydn? Kisame grabbed Samahata. Itachi activated Sharingan. They prepared bombs. Conan also prepared for battle, but in her heart she was ready to burst into tears from the fanatic's tone. If something happened to Naruto, then before she falls into despair, she will kill everyone who gets her hands on. He invited you to a picnic, Haydn said, catching his breath and not noticing the dark aura around him. But he drove me so that, you idiot. With an accurate kick, Haydn was sent flying, and Conan flew away to Naruto, focusing on his chakra. Conan's concern was not unfounded. More than 4 years ago, she picked up Naruto barely alive in the Valley of Completion. Zetsu felt a strong surge of chakra. Uzumaki awakened Rinnegan at the moment of Sasuke's departure. Pain took pity on him and found a way to seal the Kyuubi without killing Naruto. Uzumaki himself won the favor of most of the organization with his strength and stubbornness, and it was his advice that saved Sasori, Haydn, and Kakuzu from death. He found medicines for Itachi, saved Deidara's life, and gave Kisame the meaning of this very life. And when he almost managed to convince Nagato, Obito revealed his cards and, failing to get rid of them, teamed up with Orochimaru in Sasuke's body, and unleashed a war. Then they were waiting for another betrayal. Willow and Kumo almost abandoned the alliance, wanting to get rid of all the enemies at once, but even here Naruto and Nagato saved the situation, but the old snake resurrected the true Madara, and Pain had to sacrifice himself to give Itachi and Kisame time to kill Orochimaru while the others restrained Obito and the army of the dead. All these events left incurable wounds on Conan's soul, and Naruto's desire to become the leader of the reign, instead of returning to Konoha, finished her off completely. Naruto and Kabuto, who betrayed Orochimaru and helped the alliance, acquired the title of Kage by putting pressure on the others, and now Aim and Oto are hardly inferior to the 5 great villages. However, the negative experience whispers to her about the danger every time Naruto goes away on political business, leaving the village to her and the others. Whispers that even the strongest can be killed, and that they cannot be trusted. And again you're winding yourself up, Conan. The blue-haired woman's thoughts were interrupted by a voice that had become so familiar over the past time. Conan was sitting on their favorite edge of the forest, where, according to the idiot Jashinist, it was necessary to go to arrange a picnic. Naruto's hands hugged the woman from behind and pressed her to her chest. It's all over now, and as long as I'm the leader of this village, the blood clouds are nothing more than a part of history. I know, Conan chuckled, but I still need time to get used to it. You will have it. Uzumaki pointed his finger at the former Akatsuki, who were climbing to the edge and had already managed to quarrel again. While we are raising these 6 children, there will be a lot of time. For the first time in so many years, Conan laughed loudly and gaily, causing surprised but joyful glances from her comrades. You're a fool, Conan smiled softly, but you're right. Thank you for everything, Naruto-kun, everything is for you, my angel, Naruto answered her tenderly, returning the smile. But I think it's time for us to step in and leave our relationship for later, before our children kill anyone. As a warning, an explosion occurred. Deidara. As if on command, the parents of this crazy family shouted, hurrying to separate their own, but such a crazy family, Naruto leaned against a tree in an attempt to catch his breath. Another easy task from Mizukage turned into a mess again. Uzumaki wiped the blood off Nuibari and sighed. When Yagura invited him to the village, where he would not be bullied like Jinchuriki, he did not foresee that he would be forced to become a killing machine. Although, holding Nuibari, who had already become a native, in his hands, the blonde was not sure how to treat all this. But no matter what the pacifists from Konoha say, the feeling of killing dozens of people in a second is indescribable. Oh, really, our young talent has got a taste for the first time in 3 years? Next to him is Mangetsu, one of his current partners, a close friend and the most skilled swordsman in the world at the same time. A toothy smile suits you, Naruto. Suigetsu, who was leaning on Shibuki beside them, burst out laughing. The Hozuki brothers killed a lot of time so that Naruto could instill fear in his enemies just by smiling. Like all of them. Uzumaki shuddered. The process of creating swordsman's teeth will haunt him in dreams for the rest of his life. Why are you sitting down, little ones? Zabuza, the appointed leader of the squad, came up to them. Yondaime is waiting for our report. And Amuri will take your head off your shoulders if we're late. Naruto, hearing about the bearer of Kiba swords, Naruto dreamily closed his eyes. Amuri Ringo, his mentor, one of the strongest Kirigakure shinobi and just a strong woman who defeated a seemingly invincible disease and made a true shinobi out of Uzumaki. He couldn't wait to get back to her. Like her, who was on the mend and was struck by lightning for being late. His little electric animal, so prickly and so native, it's early to go home, Zabuza-san, the last current swordsman in their squad, Chujiro, announced from the branch. A soft-looking guy who turns into a demon in battle, crushing skulls with armor crusher, Kabutovari. We have guests. Naruto already felt them, 2 large detachments from the south and west. The sword that rested on his lap began to cry out for battle and rivers of blood, and, damn it, the blonde was not going to refuse him, having overtaken Mangetsu, who had uncovered Hiramakari. Naruto intercepted Nuibari, charged him with the wind chakra, and launched him towards the first enemies, correcting the direction of attack with a wire. The sounds of screams and agony were heaven to his ears. He couldn't wait to show off his skills to Amuri in a real fight someday, and he knew that she would definitely be proud of him. I understand that the task turned out to be more difficult than expected? Yondaime Mizukage, Karatachi Yagura, bowed his head thoughtfully. Nothing supernatural, Mizukage-sama. Zabuza shook his head. The shinobi of the hidden grass wanted to intercept the sound engineers, but they fell into our trap. It's great that you coped, you can rest, Jinchuriki-sanbai nodded to the swordsman. I will give further orders later. Disperse. Hi. Naruto came home elated, but tired as a dog. I wanted to wash up and fall asleep, hugging Amuri to me. But when he got under the distribution of lightning, he realized that it was not fate. Oh, yes, I'm late. Sorry, Amuri-chan. The young man shouted, hiding in the kitchen, have you forgotten what I taught you, Naruto-kun? The swordswoman sang, appearing behind Uzumaki. Never be late for a meeting with your sensei, without a good reason. Naruto blocked the lunge of Ringo's blades with a sword charged with the element of wind, and pushed Amuri away from him, then launched the sword, aiming at the head, preparing to redirect the movement below with a wire if she was covered by Kiba. The mission is a valid reason, Jinchuriki snorted when his senpai beat off his blade. The guy rebuilt it and tied Amuri's hands, placing Nuabari a centimeter from her head. Bitch, the blonde growled, forcing Ringo to release the swords from her hands, and then knocking her to the ground, and fixing her hands above her head. In fact, Amuri didn't need a reason to attack him. It was a kind of tradition. To swing with swords after the mission, and then with burning eyes to carry her to the bedroom and not give a break for the next couple of hours. The swordswoman languished in four walls, recovering from illness, without battles and blood. And Naruto was her only exhalation from the situation. In every sense, this is not an excuse, Naruto-kun. Ringo smiled at him with a toothy smile, and baring her shoulders, her green yukata began to fall off, revealing the swordswoman's body to the young man. You have to make amends. Jinchuriki felt how unbearably hot it was getting in the shape of the village. Sometimes he wondered when the student-teacher relationship had developed into something between using each other and true love. But not finding an answer, he just understood that anyone who would claim his prickly animal, he would let him on a barbecue, and the question would be closed. Now, Thorn, everything will be fine, Uzumaki said, putting his hand under the yukata and kissing Amuri on the lips, which this time turned into a struggle for leadership. The just beginning fun was interrupted by a cough. In the doorway the couple saw Mangetsu standing with his mouth open. I wanted to hand over the mission from Mizukage-sama here, and you had it open. Well, I and Hozuki. The blonde growled, releasing the Kyubi chakra and preparing to tear the intruder. In general, tomorrow all the swordsmen in full force are moving out in search of Hokage Kisame. The meeting is at 8 in the morning, said the owner of Hiramakerii, backing away. Naru, I am deaf and blind, lay low. Uzumaki threw a chair at his friend and he wisely disappeared. To hell with it all. Mizukage, swordsman, sushi from Kisame, all this will be tomorrow. And today he will show his unique sensei, a small, arrogant animal and just a strong and beloved woman, how much he missed. Deidara couldn't get enough of her luck. At first, she alone, albeit at the cost of her hand, defeated Kazekage, and now she is about to have Jinchuriki Kubi. Suck done. If only the copying ninja hadn't followed them. Well, nothing, the victory will be hers, one way or another. The renegade of the hidden stone cursed herself for her self-confidence. The capture of Naruto Uzumaki turned out to be a complete failure. Kakashi tore off her other hand with a ring to communicate with the leader, and then the brat knocked her off the bird and beat her half to death. One good thing, Sasori no Dana, after learning about her failure, killed a pink-haired girl and managed to escape before the arrival of the second team to help his grandmother. This gave hope that she would not be left to rot in Konoha prison. On the other hand, it remains an important source of information. The shield set up by Sasori will not last forever against Marino Ibiki and the Yamanaka clan specialists. And if the route is connected, then she could safely say goodbye to reason. In such a scenario, the leader will quickly give the order to kill her while Sasori's mental shields are still holding. A trap, anyway. But now some time has passed. A month, maybe more. Waves of pain and torture are not very easy to follow. But for now, the torturers and censors are fighting it themselves. I'm not sure this is a good idea. Naruto-kun, the voice of her main tormentor, Ibiki, was heard nearby. Deidara tensed. And what is Uzumaki doing here? But the order of the Hokage-sama is not discussed. What are they talking about? Come on, everything will be a bundle. The girl heard the voice of Jinchuriki when he was already approaching the bars of her dungeon. This is her last chance, Konoha's shinobi chuckled. At the Hunin Council, it was decided that the information that was obtained was enough. At least with its help you were able to defeat Kakuzu and Haiden, and the meeting between Sasori and Orochimaru was interrupted. If your strange way doesn't crack it and fish out something else useful, then we don't need it anymore. She will be given to the ANBU route for experiments. Yes, it can't be. When did you have time? I didn't say a word. Did those damn Yamanaka break through the barriers? But I didn't notice anything. Damn, if there were even rumors that I betrayed the organization, I'm screwed. How cruel you are, it's too much to make her a weapon in the hands of this old man. Naruto growled. Ibiki just shrugged his shoulders. That's the job, Naruto-kun, he chuckled. Good luck to you, for today she is at your disposal. At your disposal? I will give them at their disposal. Just let him touch me, brat. Something like a chakra blocker was put on her neck, because there were no hands for this business. She followed Jinchuriki through the morning Konoha, looking at nothing. Uzumaki himself did not say anything, heading along a familiar route. Well, where are we going? Deidara asked in a dissatisfied tone. And what are you even planning to do with me, Jinchuriki? My name is Naruto. I just wanted to talk. Uzumaki turned to her. And please listen to me, TC, tell me. The girl turned away from him. She already roughly assumed that this would happen. Why don't you give up the Akatsuki in any way? Naruto asked. They left you here. Why did you even run away from the stone and join them? Are you a psychotherapist so that I open my soul to you? Deidara snorted, but still answered. I didn't join them. To be more precise, Itachi made me. We had to fight, he put genjutsu on me and won. And I ran away because no one understood my art, everyone mocked him, so I left. Itachi is dead, Uzumaki answered her. He and Sasuke killed each other, so there are no more Uchiha left. Your ex-partner died too. You won't be forced to go back there anymore. As you can see, they didn't even come for you. But you can still serve Konoha. And your art, too. Of course, the Akatsuki kept me because of my abilities, the blonde chuckled. They don't need me without Kenjutsu and my powers. This is commonplace for shinobi. And anyway, you're a hypocrite, Naruto Uzumaki. I was, at least, appreciated for my abilities, both in stone and in Akatsuki, and by the way the villagers are staring at you here and now, I think you will be killed even faster than me. Therefore, stop lecturing me. Naruto's gaze clouded, and the stone apostate noted with pleasure that she had touched him to the quick. A deal, Jinchuriki said on an exhale. You help us finish off the remnants of the Akatsuki, your hands will be sewn on to regain strength, and then you can go wherever you want, create your art further. How is service fundamentally different from what you offer me? If Deidara had arms, she would have crossed them on her chest. And why are you even trying to help me? I'm giving you a choice. Naruto looked at her like a fool. What would you know? Shinobi is never a tool that will be made out of you in the root of ANBU. Are you talking about art? Danzo will knock it out of you and your powers will be just a weapon. And I don't want anyone else to become a simple weapon in someone's hands. At least you have honor, you can no longer be called a person worthy of such a fate. And also, your explosions are really good, he smiled sunnily at the end of the remark. Sycophant, the apostate chuckled, but her gaze softened. To hell with you, I'll help you get rid of the Akatsuki. But I have a condition. I also don't want a person who appreciates my art to be someone's weapon, which, moreover, is not appreciated at all. So when I leave the village, having done my job, you will leave with me. Naruto looked into her eyes for just a second, and then nodded and smiled gently. At least I will be watching the creation of your art. Okay, let's leave together, that's a promise, Deidara snorted. At least she won't be creating art alone. All she could do was pray that she wasn't mistaken about him. I was not mistaken, thought Deidara. When Naruto defended her in front of the Hokage, I was not mistaken, thought Deidara. When Jinchuriki comforted her and tried to drown out the incredible pain in her hands, in which mouths were formed, with a chakra, I was not mistaken, thought Deidara. When the damn blonde man covered her with himself from the bastard Tobi's sword, I was not mistaken, thought Deidara. When Uzumaki, like a small child, watched how the clay bird over Konoha was torn to pieces, pressing her fragile body to herself, everything is right. Deidara always knew a lot about art and was never wrong when it came to beauty. And Naruto Uzumaki was a full-fledged part of her art. The most beautiful part of it, it seems to me that if you mix the Kyubi chakra or your wind element into my creations, they will get better. The blonde returned that warm smile to Naruto and took his hand in hers. What do you think? The answer to her was the Uzumaki chakra that touched her. This explosion will be the best, Uzumaki said, mixing his chakra with the clay bird in Deidara's other hand. It's a promise, Deidara-chan. Fuck you, bitch. Naruto closed his eyes wearily. She's back. Took your hands off my Naruto-sama, pale-eyed. How Naruto understood Sasuke now. The blonde man was willing to bet that if he had seen his suffering, he would have laughed loudly and in full voice. And he would have laughed for a long time. Hita-chan, Naruto sighed, taking his girlfriend's hand. No need to make scenes in public places. And what did we discuss about the mat? Well, Naruto-sama, a tall, silver-haired girl, instantly shifted her gaze to her lover. Who's to blame for her hitting on you? She's not hitting on me, Uzumaki snorted. No, it sticks, the former Akatsuki calmly but firmly objected. And sticks to you with his nasty. Naruto-kun. Shikamaru, who was sitting opposite this couple, could not understand in any way, should he cry or laugh? After all, in fact, he is to blame for the formation of this pair. It all started when Naruto, who had modified the technique, followed Asuma's squad in search of Akatsuki. And at first everything went well. They found an immortal duo, and joined the battle, during which they were miraculously able to fill up Kakuzu. But when Naruto, tired of constant threats and screams about Jashin, lost his patience, the following happened. My God, Jashin-sama, will punish you, puppy. The priestess, one of the Akatsuki, screamed hysterically when Naruto knocked her out of the ritual circle. The eyes of the tired and angry blonde man widened with anger. Shut up, the frenzied Naruto knocked the priestess down and slapped her with a ringing slap in the face. I am your god here. Is that clear to you? To prove his words, Naruto captured the lips of the criminal and put his hand under the bandages covering her breasts. Hida was in shock, Shikamaru was in shock, Asuma, Izumo and Kotetsu were in shock, and the late Kakuzu, most likely, too, but Uzumaki did not stop at the kiss, and began to undress the girl, throwing out the raincoat first, and then climbing under the leggings, and what is most fun, Hida answered him by hugging her neck and succumbing to his touch. Shikamaru. Asuma chastised the young genius. Stop him. We need to capture her. He disoriented her, now he needs to knock her out and tie her up, and Shikamaru wasn't quite sure what he was thinking then, but instead of submitting, he replied, she's already in captivity, Asuma-sensei, such torture will leave her out for a long time and no one stopped Naruto. Uzumaki took the priestess of Jashin right there, at the exchange point, next to the body of her comrade, turning her into a doll for his own pleasures by the end of the act, and then he was unable to explain what happened to him. In the end, it was decided to keep it between them. When Hida woke up, instead of cursing, she demanded a wedding from Naruto and named him her new and most important god. Shikamaru, of course, turned out to be right, no matter how strange it might sound in this situation, but when the blonde was called to the interrogation room and the priestess Jashina demanded to take responsibility, Nara first started hysterical, and then he apologized to Uzumaki for a long time when Tsunade supported Hida and made her a personal bodyguard of Jinchuriki Kubi. After all, she handed over the Akatsuki with all the guts without a second thought. 3 months have passed since that moment. Everything in principle was not bad. As it turned out, Hida had a beneficial effect on Uzumaki. He became calmer, more reasonable and more attentive, showing with all his appearance who is the main bear in this den. But there was no trace of his former sunshine. Although there was little strange in this, considering that his strength was spent on the re-education of this hide. Hida-chan, Naruto sang, distracting the priestess from another tirade, after which he pulled Konoha's open vest, under which a purple top was hiding, and kissed her on the lips. Will that convince you that I'm only loyal to my priestess, Hida-chan? It will convince you, Hida dutifully agreed, laying her head on the blonde's shoulder. I live and breathe to fulfill your will, Uzumaki Naruto-sama. That's great. Jinchuriki soothingly ran his palm over the top of the head of his priestess bodyguard girl, and this gesture finally brought her into a state of peace. Well, what are you doing here, Naruto? Another hot-tempered lady of this village, Sakura, began a tirade. Why did you even bring this criminal to the barbecue, our Konakov company, the lady who did not accept the fact that Naruto had mental and physical protection? From her. Hida's lips formed a thin line. She didn't want to make a scandal again as a guest. Naruto-sama already had to calm her down once. But launching a double attack on both of them is still more difficult than it seems. I would be silent, Uchikovsky. A litter, Naruto himself dropped in a neutral tone, which put Hida and the whole company gathered at the barbecue into a stupor. The meeting was organized by Sai, and he allowed me to take Hida with me. So sit down and know your place, bitch. I confirm, Sai smiled sincerely. Hida is still Naruto's girlfriend. I wanted to be polite to her and take care of her as a new person in Konoha. And it was also too tempting to watch her throw the Spitfire back into her belt. What? Sakura roared. A commotion began at the table. Naruto and Hida's places remained a corner of calm amid the hurricane. Thank you for standing up for me, Naruto-sama. Hida bowed her head. It's still hard for me to control myself. Nothing, Hida-chan, the main thing is that everything is fine. Let's rest somewhere in a quieter place, Uzumaki suggested. As you wish, Naruto-sama, Hida smiled, her crimson eyes radiating complete devotion. They will all wait. Hida gave Hinata one last look, putting the kunai, all this time clenched in her hands, back into her pocket. For now. But I will definitely get to her. No one dares to stick to my Naruto-sama. To my god. Naruto's mood was extremely lousy. Sakura didn't go on a date with him again. Yes, how she refused. She looked like she was looking at garbage, silently turned around and left. Even the emotionally underdeveloped Sai showed more sensitivity, patting him on the shoulder, and, albeit again falsely, smiled as encouragingly as possible. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, said Shinobi Root. Sakura is fixated on Sasuke and doesn't see anyone else. There are a lot of good girls in Konoha and besides her, don't repeat her fanatical mistake. With that, he said goodbye and left, forcing Uzumaki to think. The idea was sound, but inviting everyone on a date is clearly nonsense. I need a distraction. What, I wonder, does Asuma's team do? Maybe he could train with them? Uzumaki arrived at the training ground of the 10th team, where training was in full swing. Ino Shikacho's team is against Asuma, in an attempt to capture him. As far as Uzumaki understood from the tactics by which Nara led the battle, Naruto sat down, intently watching the tactics and cohesion of the 10th team. Envy erupted in Jinchuriki. They're like one whole. Naruto recalled the members of the 7th team. They've never had that. Proud Sasuke, lazy Kakashi, frightening Yamato, infantile Sai and Sakura, who is always dissatisfied only with him. You won't even get a semblance of the teamwork shown by Asuma-sensei and Ino Shikacho from such a composition. You're not perfect either, an inner voice reminded him, not perfect. Uzumaki knew this perfectly well, and did not try to become perfect. But it upset him that his whole team didn't care about his efforts in trying to make the team more cohesive. And because of this, up to seconds verified, the actions of Team 10 caused vague childish resentment. The results of Asuma's team are the result of hard work, Kakashi once said, watching Ino Shikacho training with Sakura and Naruto. Take an example. The hell with it, Kakashi-sensei, Uzumaki growled in a whisper, adding already to himself. Any work is nothing without your desire, Kakashi-sensei. Killed, Naruto felt the cold steel at his throat, and, looking up, met Ino's eyes. You're kind of sour, Naruto. Normally, you would have reacted easily to the movement around you. Where is the enthusiasm of the future Hokage? I was just thinking about my own. The blond man rubbed the back of his head, smiling. I'm sorry if I interrupted you. We're having a snack, Choji announced from the side, opening a pack of chips and handing it to his friend. Help yourself, Naruto-kun. Thank you, Naruto said, putting a chip in his mouth. Can I join you in training? Of course, Asuma chuckled when the student's eyes turned to him. I've never been against diluting the training with new shots. Did you catch your breath? And now, get to work, let's tear it up, Naruto, Ino winked at him. Asuma stepped aside, giving the team time to prepare a plan, taking into account Naruto. Further training promises to be interesting. The training was over. Shikamaru developed 10 effective strategies against Asuma, and they tried everything on poor sensei. He loved working with this team. They worked together almost instantly and he easily felt close to them, but most of all, oddly enough, Ino stood out. Unaccustomed to Naruto, he was a little nervous and Ino supported him throughout the training. She incited, amused and gave Shikamaru various ideas about how his abilities could be used. When they finished, Asuma invited them to a barbecue, but Naruto had plans for the next day. I think I'll go, Naruto turned to his friends. Thank you for the training, Asuma-sensei, it's a pleasure to work with you, hey. Yamanaka was indignant. You've only been with us for nothing. Is it really something urgent? Well, how to say it? There was an evening training session with Kakashi's team, but after replaying the events and thoughts of today in his head, Naruto just shook his head. He had an idea. No, nothing vital. I was just thinking of taking a walk to a certain place, Uzumaki shrugged. In the evening it's extremely beautiful there, Naruto squinted at Ino. I was always looking for someone who could keep me company. Well, you and Ino go, she likes everything beautiful, Shikamaru snorted disdainfully, taking Choji and Asuma, who were confused in this situation, with him. Have a good time. Ino, who was left alone with Uzumaki, had the impression that she had been divorced somewhere. The sun was gradually setting, allowing the residents of Konoha to enjoy the sunset. It illuminated the village in such a way that everything around it acquired a soft orange color, a phenomenon that Ino had never seen before. I never thought that this would happen here. Yamanaka watched the village with fascination, sitting with Naruto on the head of the Yondaime Hokage. Uzumaki was watching the girl at this time. How her blue eyes looked at the village, which the sunset painted in a soft orange color, how the wind blew her long blonde hair. The blonde suddenly noticed for himself that she was extraordinarily beautiful. Soft and delicate, like a flower. And against the background of the sunset, this was only emphasized. Sometimes it's useful to watch your speech, Naruto. Ino smiled broadly, without taking her eyes off the village. But thanks for the compliment. Jinchuriki blushed deeply, but he did not look away from the girl. Sai was right. Why fixate on one thing when there are many other better options around? Naruto made a conclusion for himself, and then, timidly taking the girl by the hand, asked how about having dinner at some cafe tomorrow? Or take a walk somewhere else? Why are you so, Uzumaki? Yamanaka narrowed her eyes, already internally agreeing, well, I can't leave such a beautiful flower to wither alone, right? Naruto smiled sunnily. And I like to take care of flowers. Yamanaka returned the guy's smile and intertwined their fingers. Well, take care, tomorrow I'm at your disposal, Naruto. The couple laughed shyly, and Sai, sitting on a branch not far from them, took a photo. Another of his psychological experiments was a success. Now the main thing is that Sakura doesn't find out about anything. Otherwise, he will not survive the punishment for pimping Naruto and Ino. When they met for the first time, Naruto felt fear from the look of this strange woman. She was tall, with blue skin, shark-like features, and a huge living sword that could absorb chakra. Monster. Then the perverted hermit saved him from that girl and Itachi, and forced them to retreat. The problems are over, but Naruto will remember this meeting and these eyes looking at him as a victim for the rest of his life. It is this scary woman in every sense, known as Kisame Hashigake, who comes to him in nightmares, will be his incentive for training for the next 2.5 years. Not having time to return to the ranks, Uzumaki immediately ran into Akatsuki, remembering Kisame while fighting with Deidara, in an attempt to take Gaara. She's not the only monster in this crazy organization. A rethinking of himself comes on the Tenchi Bridge when Orochimaru provokes him, forcing him to use the cover of the tailed beast and attack. But after reaching 4 tails, Uzumaki loses himself, and when he wakes up, there are no more living on the bridge besides him. The cursed snake escaped, leaving Jinchuriki surrounded by the corpses of Kabuto and all Uzumaki's comrades. A dead, mutilated Sakura in her arms. Uzumaki shakes with pain and awareness of his own guilt for what is happening. He screams heartrendingly and goes into a frenzy, destroying everything around, and then loses consciousness. Hey! Senpai, look, he's alive! Shouts some squeaky, annoying voice. Naruto winces, not understanding what is happening. Where is he? Yes, I see it, Toby. Shut up. Someone very familiar answers him. Uzumaki tries to open his eyes, but his body is so weak that he is not even able to do that. Leader Sama, doesn't the extraction of Biju involve the death of Jinchuriki? Another familiar voice asks some leader. What the hell is going on? The realization surged when the familiar laughter of a blue-skinned woman, which he remembered from the first meeting, rang through the room where he was. Akatsuki. He was captured, and this brat is tenacious. He felt with every cell of his body how Kisame approached him. I can finish him off, we got the 9-tailed one out of him anyway, extracted. Naruto finally got it. He's not a Jinchuriki anymore. While he was out of his mind, the Akatsuki captured him and pulled the 9-tailed fox out of him. However, he remained alive. And judging by the voices in the room, which echoed every now and then, this was an out-of-the-ordinary situation. Apparently, the genes of the Uzumaki clan played a role, suggested someone's voice in which there were imperative notes. Kisame, make him lose consciousness, but don't kill him. I have thoughts about what to do with it. Hi, Leader Sama. Uzumaki was sure that the woman said it with a smile. He tried his best to move his body to thwart Akatsuki's plans, but the next second he was already unconscious. When Naruto woke up, he felt surprisingly good. He didn't have much strength, but at least he didn't feel injured and could move. The room was mostly empty. Bed, desk, chair, wardrobe. There may have been supplies in the desk drawers. If you think about it, nothing superfluous. But more important is where he is. Looking out the window, Naruto saw a strange-shaped building, and finally realized that there was a downpour outside the window at all. Such a description could only be attached to one place. Am I in Amagakura? So the Akatsuki didn't kill me after all? The thoughts of the former Jinchuriki were interrupted by a knock on the door. Itachi, Kisame, and some pale guy with a huge amount of piercing on his face came into the room. Uzumaki first got ready for a fight, and only then realized that he had no weapons with him, and the chakra, apparently, was blocked. A trap. We don't want to hurt you, Naruto-kun, Itachi said. Our leader, Pain, wanted to talk to you and offer you something. Pain told him everything. The goals of the Akatsuki, why they collect the tailed ones, and how it should ensure peace on Earth. It's so cruel, Naruto breathed out. He hated the idea of participating in this, he saw another way out. And anyway, Konoha is probably already looking for me. In response to this statement, Kisame pulled out a bingo book from under her cloak, and, flipping to the right page, gave Uzumaki, Naruto Uzumaki. A criminal of S rank. The reward for the head is 100 million Ri. Naruto opened his eyes in shock. That is, just like that? And after all he's done for the village? He devoted himself to her, and they even, knowing what Kyuubi was doing to him, took and wrote him off. It's not fair, unfortunately, lying is a part of shinobi's life, Naruto-kun, the former mist swordswoman smiled sadly. And Shodame Hokage failed to achieve peace in the same way that you want to achieve, everything fell apart immediately after his death. That is why we are taking a different path. To turn the whole world against himself, forcing him to rally against a common enemy and to know all the pain for himself. Terrible, I agree, but these are the realities of the shinobi world, so, Naruto, Pain spoke again. What will be your answer? Naruto knew he had no choice. Konoha stabbed him in the back and left him to his fate. If he refuses now, he will be killed, and if he agrees, they will give him the power to bring light, becoming the main enemy for the whole world. With trembling hands, Uzumaki took off Konoha's bandage and crossed out the symbol of the village with Itachi's kunai. Uzumaki Naruto, welcome to Akatsuki. Pain handed him a blue ring with the hieroglyph, sky. Put it on the little finger of your left hand. Uzumaki did so, instantly feeling some kind of connection with Pain. The latter, in his opinion, only smiled with the corners of his lips. Kisame will be your partner. Itachi, you will team up with Conan. Hi, Uchiha nodded. I understand how you feel, Naruto. The woman put her hand on Uzumaki's shoulder. We have a lot more in common than you think. I hope to work with you. But even if I'm your partner, you'd better always be careful. Agreed? Why yes, well, the blonde man tried to smile. What was happening still didn't fit well in his head. I hope to work with you too, Auntie Kisame, that's good. By the way, thanks to the mess you made on the Tenchi Bridge, we were able to track down and kill Orochimaru and his grief student, Sasuke. Since you're with us, I want to give you something for the service you rendered to Akatsuki. So. Stop, the temperature in the room dropped by several degrees. Did you say Auntie? Unfortunately, Naruto, Pain and Itachi left the battlefield, leaving Uzumaki without protection from the enraged swordswoman. Well, the time in Akatsuki promised to be interesting. If, of course, he survives. Contrary to expectations, Kisame turned out to be an excellent partner and sensei. She was humorous, could think outside the box and had a bunch of interesting stories and techniques. Thanks to her efforts, Uzumaki learned a lot of cool techniques of different elements. He discovered his talent for sealing techniques, as well as the genomes of magnet and ice, becoming the second person after Terumi Mei, who has 3 chakra natures. She helped him take revenge on Konoha for how vile they had done to him. And most importantly, she helped me survive the loss of my comrades on that ill-fated bridge. After all the experience, Naruto, being in the arms of Kisame after another nightmare haunting him, understood as never before. No, Kisame is not a monster, but a monster is the world that forced her to become a murderer of her comrades. And the hour is coming when he will be able to prove it to her. Naruto opened his eyes and stretched slightly, chasing away drowsiness. The weather in the land of Earth was more favorable to him and his family. Family. Uzumaki doesn't know the reason, but it's hard for him to get used to this word. Strange, unfamiliar. Looking around, he saw that Yukimaru was still sleeping, but his partner was not visible. After checking the barriers and making sure that there were no breakthroughs, Naruto relaxed. Guren was not far away, training. Jinchuriki put on black and orange pants, a mesh t-shirt and a black jacket, then went outside, taking a sword. Guren practiced one of the crystal element techniques at the training ground they built. Naruto did not bother her. He leaned against a boulder with a view of the landfill, and putting his sword on his knees, hit the memories. Uzumaki walked through the village, greeting passers-by every now and then. The hand from Hashirama's cells was slowly taking root, and soon Naruto will return to service again. Kakashi-sensei said that soon his dream of becoming a Hokage would come true, but Naruto was no longer particularly enthusiastic about it. It would be more correct to say that it burned out. With the recognition of his merits in the battles with Pain and in the war, Naruto felt that the need for the post of Hokage abruptly disappeared. Jinchuriki was increasingly visited by the idea that he could also protect the village as a jonin. It's better than wasting away in the office among the waste paper. With such thoughts, the war hero reached the faces of the Hokage, and sat down on the face of Yondaime. Here it seemed to him that he felt the presence of his parents. It became easier to think here. Something you're completely withered, Naruto. Uzumaki heard Shikamaru's voice behind his back. You should unwind. I know myself, Naruto snapped sluggishly, waving his hand. Is something wrong? They were looking for you here, Nara answered him. A woman named Guren and a boy named Yukimaru wanted to see you. They said you were an acquaintance of theirs. Uzumaki's face was transformed. He had not seen Guren and Yukimaru for a long time, since that very chase after Sanbai. He would be glad to see them. Lead on. Naruto nodded to his best friend and they left the Hokage Rock. This meeting turned Naruto's mindset. The stories about the duo's travels inspired Uzumaki, and sounded interesting. At the suggestion of Kubi, Uzumaki turned to Kakashi with a request to go on a trip with them, to see the world, to unwind. After all, when he does become a Hokage, he will no longer have a chance. Yukimaru and Guren were only in favor of taking their hero with them. Unfortunately, Hatake agreed. The next 2 years were one big journey. During this time, Naruto got closer to Guren, finding many common themes. Being one of those who understood her, not the most rosy, past, Yukimaru made some conclusions about their relationship, so at certain moments Naruto and Guren were left alone, which increasingly led to their spending time together in heart-to-heart conversations. The boy decided to play pimp. Naruto joked once on this topic, after which Yuki, as if having received permission, began to leave them alone every time he had a chance. That he realized that his efforts had paid off when, during another stop in the land of waves, Yukimaru found Naruto and Guren sleeping in the same bed. They did not drink, which means they came to this, fully assessing their actions. On this note, the young traveler considered his mission completed. Memories were interrupted by the whistle of a flying shuriken, which Naruto, without straining, beat off. The crystals that made up the shuriken crumbled and Naruto decided to rush into battle. If Guren had disturbed him, then she needed his attention. Why are you sitting down? Smiling, the woman asked, straightening her blue hair after a set of exercises. How about a good workout instead? You're welcome, Uzumaki chuckled, attacking that's always how she is. Guren constantly wanted to hurt Naruto, to excite him, to make him act. At such moments Uzumaki decided for himself that he would not return to any Konoha. His place was here. Next to Guren and Yuki, he felt really happy, warmed up. The woman grinned. Then it's time to start a new level. Orochimaru's former test subject accelerated well and crashed into her boyfriend with a run, knocking him to the ground, and immediately dragging him into a kiss. Yukimaru, who had been watching them before, came back into the house, smiling. Time to leave them alone. After all, he was right when he told Guren that the family should be gathered. If there is a mother, there must be a father. Then, taking her by the hand, he led her along the road leading to a well-known blonde, knowing exactly what will hit the spot with this solution. The family is finally assembled. End. Don't wait for the second part. Because the plot is finished.